Shout out to Daniel Hooper. He sent in a joke, and we're going to use it.
I did call him out in the last week. I did say when you said when you said to people bring a joke, I said Dan Hooper respond, and he has.
Yeah. So he sent in one last week. Actually, sat in his car. You were watching.
I was filthy. I wanted to be involved in this.
Well, you can't know, can you?
That's true. Authentic.
And then he sent another one in today, and I thought, you know what? I'll use it. He's actually been the only person to send one in, so we're going to use it. It's a good one. Process of elimination.
You could have left that bit out.
All
right, get on with your joke.
Right.
Let's go.
Did you guys hear about the man with 5 penises?
No, I didn't hear about him.
Rumour has it his underpants fit like a glove.
Shit.
Dan, they didn't like it.
That's one of the.
They didn't like
I
it.
have to say, Rod, that's probably. Do you reckon that's the worst one?
Nah, the patty one's the worst one.
Which one?
Oh, Meat Patty.
Yeah.
How does the hamburger introduce his girlfriend?
Okay, yeah, that's the worst one.
Meat Patty.
This one's the second worst. Yeah.
There you go, Dan.
So Hoops.
Thank you for...
He's a generally very funny man, Daniel
Yeah.
Hooper. And it wasn't too bad, but I would say...
Maybe stick to the witty jokes.
Yeah, I
maybe
think so.
In conversation.
I think
That's
so.
okay. Anyway.
After
Thanks,
that,
man.
let's get into the podcast.
Yeah, good start.
G'day and welcome back to the Pub Test Podcast. This is take 2 after I didn't press record.
We recorded for 20 minutes and Fletcher's like, oh no. Spacebar does not start the recording.
But hopefully we can trim this down because 20 minutes for the news was too long.
Yeah,
But
we
there's a
love
bit of
chat, don't we?
It was the universe telling us that first part was too long. So
There'll be a bit of breaking news in this segment that we don't know about yet.
We
Okay?
got so hyped that we were able to break some news like 3 minutes
Live.
ago. And now we can't pretend now.
So we'll pretend that we did it live again for you guys.
So say your first opinion and then, oh no, the breaking news is got through, okay? Everyone get ready for that. But first, obviously some team seasons have ended, and that's got in more trade requests and more free agency things to happen. So we're going to jump straight into that. Melbourne has obviously their season ended on Saturday night. We'll get into that later. So now, Monday morning, just about 9 a.m, he's knocking the door. Jackson has immediately requested a trade back to WA, but would like to go mainly to Fremantle. $900K a year, 7 years, 2 first-round draft picks in compensation. This could help in the Grundy deal for Collingwood, but 907 years. What are we thinking?
Overs. Big overs. There's no other answer, is there?
Yeah, slap on the overs for that one. That's insane.
Can he be worth 900 in the future at his peak?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're getting to his peak. With
You're paying for potential right there.
But you got to wait 3 years to get it.
If maybe more.
And a knee injury is for a ruckman probably very likely and not a good thing.
And yeah, like you said before, in take one, the Darcy and Jackson fit doesn't seem very seamless.
2 ruck first players. So you're paying $900K for, if Darcy stays, you're paying $900K for a forward ruck, which seems incredible.
Yeah, you'd want him to be a probably 40, 50 goal a year. If you're paying that much to be a forward, you want him to be 40, 50 goal a year.
Which he's shown
he
not
doesn't
that.
look anywhere close.
So you can sort of justify to some extent if you're paying $900K for, you don't have a ruckman and you're paying for a pure ruck, because he has shown he can do that, but not 900. Nah, that's way over.
So keeping with this free agency, keeping with this type of deal, obviously Jordan De Goey, the 2 first-round draft picks Melbourne will receive that they're asking for Jackson will help with Grundy getting to Melbourne. Obviously, that is also impacted with De Goey. He's been recently offered a 2-year deal with extra 2 years performance-based. So if he performs well or to whatever triggers they have,
KPIs,
he'll get another 2 years. Is he worth that to the Pies? And obviously, gone. Who's more of a priority, Grundy or De Goey? For the Pies, would you rather leave De Goey, Tommy, and let him go to St Kilda or someone, or would you rather give away Grundy and get 2 first-round draft picks?
Really tough, because I think if you, as another fan who doesn't own De Goey, would I be fair to say that Grundy's more reliable? Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, he was probably like the start this year when he wasn't that great. I think he was still decent. It was just because he set such a high bar.
Yeah.
Whereas, and as well, a completely different system than the past he's playing in.
Yes.
More like chaos, not as slow.
Yep.
Less stoppages, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, like he's probably more consistent, but geez, to go his last 6 weeks,
That's
hard to ignore.
That's what's. I mean, if it's Grundy's, you're probably more reliable. You know that there's not going to be behavioural issues. I know he's coming off a big injury, but Grundy's generally been pretty injury free. But I think looking at the fact that Collingwood's pushed on without Grundy, while I am a bit concerned of putting our eggs in Cameron and Cox to be the duo for the next few years, I think we've talked a lot about Collingwood struggles in the midfield. De Goey fills that void when he's playing. So tough. I think right now for me, De Goey's more valuable to Pies, but also it's harder to rely on him. But I'd probably pick De Goey now with absolutely zero confidence.
Do you like, as a Collingwood and Geelong supporter, do you like the 2 years plus 2 performance base, not just giving the 4?
Had to happen.
And is it now in the range of 800 or are you still at 600, 650?
I think
I'm happy to pay 2 years 800. I didn't want to pay 4 years 800.
I think purely just from supply demand, so that he doesn't go to St Kilda, just so St Kilda can't price them out of a contract. Just say, we'll give you that if you stay, but it's based off this and these performance-based KPIs, blah, blah, blah. So I think, it's not a lock. Like, it's not something you have to do, but if I was them, I'd probably do it. I would tend to agree.
We know that 800 is pre-reserved for someone that's top 3 in the Brown every year. But he could be that. He hasn't shown to be that yet. He could do that for a game.
We've said could be since he got drafted.
Yeah.
So, and I think, I'm not sure, this was a while ago when I was listening to SEN, I think it was Kane Corns, he listed off other players at the same age as De Goey. So I think when Danger was 26 and they were listing off 3-time All-Australian, Brownlow medal, all this stuff, and De Goey, best result is top 10 in the best of first once.
I think he had top 5 last year. Which
Was he?
Yeah.
So it was you one time in the top 10 or something.
But
it's like
that team finished 17th, had a lot of turmoil that year.
So for how good he is, he's never been that good in the BNF.
I'm just looking at the
for a whole year.
The Rich 100. 800k wouldn't be as bad as I initially thought. So you've got O'Meara is on around 800k. Tom Mitchell, Aaron Norton, Dane Rampy is on 800k.
Wow.
So Zach Williams, Dylan Shield. So it's not as bad as I first thought. I think 800k. I'd be happy with that.
But 800k, considering he could get all those players right there, didn't get themselves in trouble. He could, just like that, one night out, get himself in trouble.
Yeah.
Potentially, Collingwood might back in this new culture that they've brought in to maybe flip that. And I mean, we don't know, do we? That's
We're guessing.
We're
Well,
guessing.
halfway through this year, where it wasn't inset, that was great.
I know, but it's like, it's tricky.
That's an interesting one. We'll leave that and see what happens in the off season. Tanner Bruin wants to join bloody Geelong.
Seriously.
They just want to regenerate their stocks, rejuvenate, and go again.
Because they're not good enough already.
Yeah, lovely.
It's good fun being a Cats fan. It's pretty good.
Must be nice.
Sell it out, Tanner Bruin in. Happy days.
Then all GWS have declared they want a first-round draft pick, 2 first-round draft picks for Hopper. Where does this leave Tim Taranto? Obviously, Tim Taranto's been a better player for a longer time. And they're always going to do the same. They're going to the same club, so both of them in a package. Does that mean they have to give up 5, maybe 6 draft picks?
It's ridiculous. Like when you compare it to the Jeremy Cameron. Jeremy Cameron was worth just 3 first-round picks, and that's it. Geelong got 2 second-round picks back and gave away 3 first-round picks. So if Hopper's worth 2, no chance. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that means that that's like one draft pick for the both of them.
Incredible. Yeah, like he's like I'd say Taranto. I know Hopper was in the Australian squad last year. I say Taranto's a better player. So if Hopper's 2, Taranto's a minimum 3. So I just we were talking about it before. I just can't see Giants getting a good deal. I think they get fleeced. I think we talked about that. Clubs now that players nominate clubs, they feel like they have to send them there, and I just think it's just bad for clubs because Giants. I mean, Richmond don't have 5 first-round picks to give them. So
would you give up Daniel?
I'm not sure they would want to.
Like Daniel plus picks? Because you have to if they're wanting like 2 for Hopper, then obviously going to want 2 for Tim Taranto minimum. So you probably can subsequent a player and 2 draft picks.
There's some going young players though, because they're obviously I wouldn't say they're rebuilding.
Noah Bolter?
Well, it
So
sounds like they
Soldo
want,
was thrown in.
they want
Soldo.
Soldo. They want a ruckman because you can't trust Bruce, Briggs, all those guys. So they want
Okay.
Soldo apparently, which is not
But
bad.
I think the deal gets done, but I just can't see the Giants
Yeah,
getting
the
out
Giants are
good
going
from
to
this
get
deal.
stiffed, but
Yep.
moving on anyway. That'll play out over the next couple of weeks. Long time Western Bulldogs person, 12 years he's been there. Chris Maple has been given the opportunity, which is interesting, to resign. He's was a coaching and operations manager. Luke Beveridge's right-hand man. They're also reporting that more coaches may leave, repositioned and moved over the next 6 months. I think that's the Dogs admitting that this season was a failure and they have to rejig things. In breaking news...
We thought what was breaking news when we tried recording the first time.
All right, come on.
I was going to get my acting skills going. And try and, but
Joe Berry is off to the tribunal. Hasn't been given a sentence yet.
he's leaving the tribunal.
Hasn't been given a sentence yet, right?
Oh,
As a
sorry.
Cats fan,
Yep.
what do you think?
Yeah, I
Should
can't-
should this be overturned?
No, okay, he's got off.
Yeah, he's got, I
He's
can't- I
got off
couldn't
now.
even.
He's got off now,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we know that.
Yeah.
Was
Correct
it
decision.
fair? Yeah, so correct decision.
Yep. So pretty much what we said before, they said that word for word. Berry did not intend to make contact with Oliver's eye region. His actions were reasonable in the circumstances, considering the forceful pressure on his throat by Oliver.
Yeah.
Completely
Pretty
fair.
straightforward. Yeah.
Spot on.
We had like a 10-minute conversation about why pretty much saying that. They've just done
Yeah.
that nice and quickly. So
Yeah.
Pretty much when I first saw it, I probably wasn't focusing on the Oliver contact. So I saw, he's eye gouging there. But I think Pendlebury, you mentioned Pendlebury. When someone's putting pressure on your throat, you're just trying to get him off. You're not trying to, I need to get his eyes. I'm not trying to get him off.
You're not thinking straight, are you?
No.
You're just reaching.
Pressure's on your throat. You're just trying to get him off you. So, yeah, I think it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest.
that's very good. So that's everything in the news. We'll move on.
Boys, week 2 of the finals done and dusted. Couple of they were good games, but didn't live up to the standard. I don't think they're ever going to live up to the standard of the first week of finals. But a couple of good games of footy to watch. In particular, the Friday night game Brisbane defeated Melbourne 92-79. They shocked the AFL with the ruthless second half. That was incredible to watch. To send the reigning premiers packing in straight sets. Daniel Rich, 30 touches, had his best game of the season. We've talked about how his role with Coleman has diminished, has probably taken the load off him a bit, but he was back to his best with 30 touches, as I said. Jared Berry, we just talked about Jared Berry getting off. He had probably his best game of the season. I know he's had some high disposal games, but the role he had on Oliver in that second half was massive, keeping him to only 21 touches, I think it was. Neil, 27, McCluggage, 25. They've been their best two all year, and they delivered. Eric Hipwood, Riley's man, stood up with no Dan Hur kicking 4 goals, while Charlie Cameron kicked 3 himself. Petrarca was very gutsy playing through that leg injury with 27 touches, while Ed Langdon had 24 and 2 goals. Fletcher Berryman, do you think this Lions win was more about their second half pressure or the D's wasting chances early?
It's tale of two halves, I reckon. First quarter, the D's had slick ball movement, getting set shots on goal, and I think they kicked 6 goals, 7. I'm pretty sure, something close to that, and that's shockingly wasteful. They had plenty of marks inside 50 to put a good score against the against the Lions, and put a bit more pressure on them, but they didn't. They didn't take the opportunities, and same as last week against Richmond, the Lions came back in the second half, and they started to put some pressure on Demons. I'm really interested in what happened at halftime.
Yeah, what was said?
Tale of two halves, wasn't it?
McCluggage kept it pretty. McCluggage didn't say much on the couch last time. I was hoping he'd say a bit more because that was incredible. That was their highest. That was their highest pressure rating since 2020. The Lions.
It was almost like a light flip, like a light switch got flicked. Like
Backs against the
for
wall.
sure.
It took their season literally hanging on by a thread for them to be like, ooh, maybe
Yeah.
we should try.
Are they going to do this next week against Geelong? This now Geelong matchup is going to be quite fascinating to me because are they going to turn this pressure up next week? Because they're probably a more skillful Collingwood. No offense, Collingwood, they've got more first round draft picks, and if they can bring that pressure, then maybe they can beat the Cats.
The content Cats fan in me just thinks they've had 2 brutal games where they've had to work their ass off.
Yeah.
I'm thinking surely it has to take its toll at some stage, and maybe like if they're fit enough and good enough to do it again, and it's going to be a hard game. It's a prelim final. It's not going to be easy. So, but yeah, I don't know if they can do that for a whole game, and I don't think Geelong's going to let them just do it for a half.
No, that's the thing. That's another thing. Like, if they can do this for a whole game, that's good. But they only did it for half. They only did it for half. And Geelong, as you said, aren't going to let them do it for half. Melbourne, if they could score better, they weren't going to win that game, let's be honest, here, Brisbane. But they got the W. I think one player that symbolised their second half and what they should strive to do every single game from now on is Jared Berry. He tagged Oliver, and he actually texted Chris Fagan during the weekend saying, "Can I have the job of Oliver?" Fagan said, "No, we're going with Robinson."
Did he?
Devin Robinson. Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Second half, the midfield coach said, "We're changing this up. We're going with Berry." Berry had second. This is his second half stats after having 4 touches in the first
He
quarter.
had 4 touches.
4 touches in the first half.
First half.
Sorry, first half, 4 touches. He finished with 26. So he had 22 touches, 9 contestant, 2 tackles, 6 marks, 5 clearances, 2 inside 50s, 2 rebound 50s.
Everywhere.
That is
Both sides of the field.
dominant, and held Oliver to
Oliver had
I think
21 total, but
11 disposals, or less than that, maybe
Was it?
7 disposals, I think it was,
Really?
for the rest of the half. Like, that is dominant, and it was, to me, purely attacking the footy and, like, tough stuff. Like, we talked about fake toughness the other week. They didn't worry about winning contested ball, which is not what they're good at. They worried about head over the footy, and if I get bumped, I get bumped. And if someone has the footy, I tackle them as hard as I can. Or I tackle them and try and stop the ball from just releasing outside. It was proper tough footy instead of like, oh, I'll go out there and slag my mouth, like put my mouth out there and
put someone in a headlock just to look
put
tough.
someone,
Yeah,
like it was, the footy's there, I win it. And if someone has the footy, I tackle them. Like, that's purely what it was, and turn up every single time instead of just doing it once, then puffing my chest out.
just constant hunt of the footy. It was incredible to watch because I'm not sure about you boys, but I thought the game was, I wouldn't say over, but
Yeah.
there was no part of me was thinking that they were going to do what they did.
Oh, we were probably the same, weren't
yeah,
we? The
that first 15
quarter.
minutes, we literally, like, we were away skiing, and we, like, started playing games because, like, oh, this is going to be a boring game. The first 15 minutes, Melbourne dominated. And then,
Yeah. And you just look across, go, oh yeah, that's 20 points. Oh, that's 25 points. Oh,
Yeah.
that's 28 points. Yeah, oh, well, that's it.
and then they started coming back. And Eric Hitwood, he kicked 3 goals, didn't he?
Four. He was huge.
To me, he's a player that made your wins better. So if you win by 30 points, he'd bum up to 50 because he'd kick a couple of goals. He did not do that this weekend. He was they were losing. He was the one that stood up in that
took
forward
it by the
line
scruff of the neck
and
didn't
said,
he?
"This
Yeah.
is me. Like, this is my game. I'm going to get on my back and let's go." Him, Charlie Cameron, then put a few little cherries on top of that, and it was good to watch that game.
But
So
just the way that Brisbane in that second half could move the ball forwards out of stoppage at will.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much space for them to just like break the
Yeah.
lines that Melbourne didn't make them go backwards or sideways at all.
no,
I haven't seen that in a very long time. Melbourne just, I don't know, that obviously massive props to Brisbane, amazing, but it just felt like Melbourne just lost it for a half a
I
footy.
think all year Melbourne's second half, especially the second half of this year, Melbourne's second halves of game have been shocking. And I don't know, maybe it's
Last quarters in particular.
like I think they've given up like 7.
I was about to mention that
20-point
on
deficit?
the couch. Said
Yeah.
there was about 7 or 8 games where they've been up by three or more goals and
Yeah.
lost.
So I think maybe that's just an effect of how hard it is to go back to back. Maybe a bit tired, but yeah, it's big.
It's incredible for when we were saying 10-0. Could they go undefeated?
Like,
and
incredible.
They
Straight
went
such
6
a
and
fall
8 for the
from
rest of the year.
Yeah. You talked about like their hunting pressure, everything. We're just going through like the team stats. This stood out to me. 71% is to 44.
Yeah,
So that's just Brisbane purely working harder.
Wanting it more.
They just like 44 1% is to 70. Like 44 is Melbourne's basically average for the year.
yeah.
So that's Brisbane just being next level.
Wanting it more.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
and
I mean.
that first 15 minutes of the game, they probably had 2 1%ers because they didn't go anywhere near the ball. Like, Melbourne were genuinely dominating them.
Everywhere.
So,
Everywhere.
like, that is incredible. I think
Hey.
it's interesting. It's now got really interesting because Brisbane, you don't know what's going to come from them.
We said that.
you don't
Remember,
know.
you said that last week. You were high on them. We were saying they can win in different ways. They showed they could win in Richmond a bit gutsy towards the end. They've
Yeah.
done it again.
Like,
2 weeks in a row.
but both first halves of those games, they're probably not meant to be in the game. The team's probably meant to put a score on them that they're not in the game.
Yep.
So they take the opportunities when you give it to them. Geelong is probably a better team and shouldn't give it to them. But if they do, I'd be nervous at halftime.
You never know, do you? That's the thing. You don't know. Like, we could be up by 2 or 3 goals at halftime. Brisbane, similar to that Collingwood sort of, we've done this 2 weeks in a row. Let's do it again.
Like, why not believe? But then at the same time, you could, if they give up a half like they did against Melbourne, it could be a 60-point deficit.
I mean, I'd take that, but yeah.
So you take that. You take a win.
All right. Moving on to the more enjoyable game for myself. Pies defeating Fremantle by 20 points. For me, dominate from start to finish. I know I'm a little bit biased. I hope I don't sound too biased here, but for me, they dominated from start to finish. For me, I thought the game should have been put to bed half the third quarter. The one straight, they kicked 9 straight behinds. So I thought the Pies, I think 20 points flattered the Dockers a little bit.
Left the door open.
Yeah, it did. Like, there was the one towards the end of the game. I know maybe it sounds a bit.
Nah,
but, like,
that's true.
They Freo kicked a goal and then had an immediate clearance. I was like, hang on. Like, the commentators aren't hyping this up enough here. But got the win. De Goey, best on ground again. 24, 6 clearances and a goal. We talked a bit about it in there, so I won't say much more. But, playing for his contract and delivering. Crisp had his best game since the buys with 24 and 2 goals. Nick Dacos and Pendles did what they've done for the majority of the season with 25 and 24 respectively. Ginnivan. Now, Gary Lyon called this. I'm not sure if you watched the end of On the Cast last week when they said, name a player that you think will have a big final series. He said Jack Ginnivan. And he was our best forward comfortably with 3 goals. Elliott and Myercheck kicked 2 each. Sarong and Brayshaw are going to be so exciting to watch them in tandem in the future. Once again, 30 touches each. Frederick, Logue, Schultz and Walters, all multiple goal kickers. Riley, now how much this game did you watch? I know you were at the Snow. So how much this game did you watch and what are your immediate thoughts?
We watched this at the Frying Pan Inn restaurant at Falls Creek.
It was a lot of Collingwood supporters there.
Boy.
Yeah, I did see that. When
Can't get away from
video, I'm like, hang
Someone
on.
saying, and you spotted this, Darcy Moore is the best defender in the competition.
Agreed.
And some
Did he make
flag
the
pies were...
AFL squad?
Did he make
The All-Australian squad?
Did he make the squad? Oh,
No, team.
No, we're asking you
Definitely
so
not.
that you can say no, he didn't.
No.
But he's the best defender in the league.
Wasn't even
And I think there's a
close.
few like, Jack Ginnivan, he's the best forward. Oh, God.
Yeah, one good game against Tommy Hawkins, and he's the best. Anyway, moving on.
blanketed.
Um,
Yes, we still lost for you.
yeah,
Go on.
Freo looked good early. I remember watching this, thinking they were. Obviously, you could see it was being played the way Collingwood wanted it to be played. It was fast, but Freo were hanging in there a little bit in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But it was
They had
probably what you were expecting. They couldn't do it for long enough.
Freo had territory, but Crisp in that first half or first quarter,
Huge.
he was breaking out of stoppage and just running directly at goals. It was incredible to watch.
Kamikaze style, man.
You
That
never
run
see
went on, wasn't it?
midfielders
Yeah.
break out of front of stoppage these days. You have to go back and around. He was just breaking straight out the front, and that 3 or 4 bounces. I wanted him kick goal instead of handball in that. But
I literally think it was like 4 or 5 bounces. It's incredible, and something missed a bit.
But as well, we did our matchups last week.
Yeah.
I know you want to talk about yours because well done.
Wow.
I'm just
I
going to quickly just get in there. I did claim they'll win by 40 plus. If Collingwood didn't kick like a bunch of Oz
Yeah,
kickers,
you're
No, I'm
right.
behind.
if they
You're
didn't
right.
kick like a bunch of Oz kickers, I would have gotten it right.
We
So,
started 6 straight
yeah.
and then kicked 9 straight behind. But you're right. It was paying. I think we checked. It was paying like over $5.
I'm telling you. Anyway, Fletch,
almost.
your turn.
Oh, my turn, is it? Well, first mention, Tommy's man. He said Jordan De Goey last week, didn't he?
Yeah, I said
Key matchup.
Yeah, so
Jordan De Goey had 24 touches, 12 scoring involvements.
best on ground.
That's pretty incredible. My man, Jeremy Howe, I said he needed to have a big game and they need to stop him. They didn't stop him. He had 17 disposals, 13 of them intercepts. I would love to know how many of them were marks in that first half.
a lot.
When Fremantle had the run of them, they had the
Territory,
opportunities. Jeremy Howe was just taking mark after mark and mark. I reckon he saved you 3 or 4 goals at least, and then you just counter-attacked off that. So
I don't know who was playing on him, but they were doing a terrible job.
No one.
Yeah.
No
It
one
felt like he was
playing
a spare at every, and I don't know if that's by design, but it felt like wherever they kicked it, he was there.
Well, if it was by
waiting
design,
for it.
Collingwood did a freaking perfect
Yeah.
job at it.
It was incredible. But as you spoke briefly about Sarong, I reckon you said this quite a while ago, but I'm going to back you up. Sarong, genuine All-Australian contender next year.
You did tell that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure exactly
was
if you
that
said it on a
Cheetah
podcast
West
if we
game.
were released or not,
Yeah.
but you said that.
He looks, his last I think his season's gone under the radar. He's averaged 26
Absolutely.
disposals.
I don't think he's had a single game for those betters. I don't think he's had a single game under 20 for the year.
So it's a great call from you. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I'm all in on that. Like, he is a superstar.
He goes under the radar because of how good Brayshaw is.
Yeah.
If Strong was playing for any other club, but especially like one of those bottom
If he was
eight
a
clubs,
Melbourne
he'd be
club.
elite.
And he's clean. Like, he uses the ball
Yeah.
well. He doesn't just break
Silky
out and
user.
bomb it. He uses the ball really well.
Yeah, watching him and Brayshaw in tandem is going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
He needs people to go with him.
Another one. Shout out to, was it Will Carpenter, who said, geez, the crowd's going to be pretty small tonight.
No way.
Yeah.
This Tuesday.
Yeah, Will actually said this.
It was
I think
sold
they
out,
were.
Will.
It was like, you know how they like do the overhead shot of the MCG
Yeah,
before the game,
yeah.
and it was like an overhead shot of a helicopter flying in or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, the crowd looks a bit small tonight." And then, like 3/4 time, it pops up with 91,000.
They're doing the national anthem and there's not an empty seat in the house. We're like,
That's not the first time he's made comment like that. I think Anzac Day we were on our golf trip. He said Nick Dacos hasn't done much in the first quarter. Had about 12 in the first quarter, literally everywhere. So it's not the first time Will's made a comment like that. But that's incredible for a semi-final. Collingwood, 100,000 members, empty. That's a shocking call for
It was
Will.
one of the better calls.
That's-
Although.
that came back to me.
that's
That's
high
just
value.
hilarious.
But boys, anything
Couldn't
else to add before we
believe
move on
that.
to the next
Only
segment?
one, Monday, what a way to go out. Nice
Yeah,
goal at the
pretty
end.
good.
That was cool.
And I enjoyed. Obviously, I wouldn't want to see it when the game was in the balance, but it was nice. I was able to enjoy it more that the game was probably over by then. But no, that was seeing his kid cry was,
Yeah, that was rough.
that got me. Obviously, you'd expect his wife, I think his wife, to cry, but seeing his kid cry, I was like,
Have
holy
you seen
shit.
the celebrations?
Yes.
How good.
Getting up is like,
Yeah.
they're like getting him up on their shoulders.
At the front of a pub, just like it must be in Fremantle, and he's just like on someone's shoulders, one of the players, and just like Monday.
He
It
looks so uncomfortable as well. It looks like he's never gone to a bar in his life. And he just doesn't know what to do.
Well, to be fair, he's like a dad.
Yeah,
Just
true,
at a bar.
true. Wearing
But-
jeans like the Junners or whatever.
But good on him because it's been a big career and
It's awesome.
a lot of travel, a lot of K's travelled flying from Perth to Melbourne every week. So well done
Well
to him.
earned
What a career.
rest. Well
What a
earned
career.
rest.
And just a low key underrated player, I think, especially like
Consistent. Really
Yeah.
consistent.
I think if he played for a Victorian club, I think it would have been hailed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more.
so.
And that close to a flag as well. One
Yeah.
game away from a
If
flag.
you see here, you always talk about players that deserve a flag. He did.
He's one of them.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's it for the review, boys. Let's get on to the true or false.
It's been a couple of weeks since we've done this, but glad to have it back. A bit of true or false. So we've created a couple of questions here to ask each other, just based on a couple of teams whose seasons are done, and just one extra one. So we're going to get straight into it. Is Melbourne's season, or was Melbourne's season, a failure? Fletch.
On the spot.
We kind of knew he was going to ask it.
Yeah, it was very quick towards me. No, it wasn't a failure.
Ooh.
I think they still started 10-0, so that's good. They also finished 6 and 8, and then bundled out straight sets. Sydney was a very good game. I think that could have gone. That last quarter was the only one that decided it. Brisbane was a bad loss for someone that was 0 and 10. But failure is just too strong of a word. I think it was a disappointing season in the end. Straight sets, not making a prelim, but failure is just. It wasn't a failure.
If I may ask, if that's not a failure, where's your point where it was a failure?
Probably missing finals.
So you give them that much leeway?
Yeah.
Well, they still made finals, and they still before the bye was looking. We were talking about
For
undefeated
me,
season.
that makes it a failure. The fact that they were 10-0 and did it and did.
So the
what they did.
10-0 doesn't really mean.
I'm
anything.
using that 10-0 as to make it becomes a failure because they were 10-0. I think it's possible for them to lose in the semi-finals, and even in straight sets, and not be a failure. But the fact they were 10-0, everyone was saying it's 70% and still got straight sets to a Brisbane side that I'm not sure if we gave them much chance, and I don't think many people gave them much chance. That was for me the not the lock, but that was the near certainty for the week was Melbourne winning. So I think it's a failure because they were 10-0, and to go 6 and 8 at the back end, yeah, that's what the 10-0 makes a failure for me.
I agree with Tommy. I think especially and the way that they were bundled out, not so much the Sydney game. That was a great game of footy, but this Brisbane game summed up everything that went wrong for them this season, basically. Just defensive structure, all out the window. You can't win. You can't get close to winning any big games when you play like they did in that second half. So it's not just that. I think, from where they were, that was pretty catastrophic. Like,
You reckon that bad?
yeah, I do. And I think they've almost been labelled a selfish team.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think all those things are not... I don't know. Like, it's so hard because where's the leeway? But I think that if they were have been bundled out in a super close game, maybe it'd give them a bit of leeway. But I think it was a failure. From where they were so dominant. At the end of that grand final last year, everyone was thinking, who the hell is going to beat them next year? And after 10 games, it was the same thing.
They're going at 70% and they'll turn over.
Like,
So just like
who's going to beat them?
by how many? It was,
I think you got to give a little bit of respect to Richmond and Hawthorns that have won 3-peat. It's not that easy just to back it up the next year.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit... I do believe the self-condition was a bit poor, and I think people found chinks in their armour, and they slowly chipped at them. They still haven't had a failure season because of the fact that they were so close. Like, if they kick straight in the Brisbane game in that first half and up by 40, not 20, Brisbane probably have to find a lot harder to come back.
I get what you mean. Like, there's so many like ifs and buts and all that stuff. With everything
And do
that
you
we've
sum up
seen,
their season and a half?
I
That's
don't.
another thing we're
But
doing there. So
I don't.
They
But
were
I
pretty
don't.
ordinary for since the bye.
Like the fact, like you said, they were 6 and 8 in their last 14 games. That's pretty.
for a side that was
embarrassing.
10-0 and flying, that's not
With
good.
minimal, it could be said minimal injuries
Yeah,
too.
'cause I saw someone who said David King said that they weren't banged up.
they're definitely banged up
Were
in the
they?
last game of the season, yeah.
Apparently, because Petrarca was injured, but he reckons that Gorn wasn't right. But to say they were injured,
I mean, every
seems
team
wrong.
was carrying
Yeah.
injuries into finals who no one
Definitely.
knows about.
Didn't
So
agree
you
with you
can't make an exception for them. But yeah, I think it was a failure. The way that they went from so high to so low, for me, that's a failure.
I agree.
So the next one we've got, now I actually really like this one. This is probably an interesting discussion. Tommy, true or false, is the tagger back?
We ask this question often. A lot of people say it. We see like a really good, like a Windhager tagging Neil out of a game, or Barry getting Oliver, or always the tagger back. I think it is to some extent. Obviously, we'll talk about the Pies Swans game in a moment, but we are expecting Clark to tag Dacos. And does O'Connor play tag Neil?
Blitzers.
Yeah, I don't think
That's a
O'Connor
lot.
does.
Yeah.
O'Connor being in the midfield throws out all the structure. So Blitzarv's in there, not a tag, run with it the stoppage.
Okay, I like.
think.
Yeah, I do like that. It's good 'cause I like that the tag. We're not losing some of the old traditions that players getting tagged for hurt Supercoach. I know we're not doing Supercoach now, but having a tagger wreaks havoc in Supercoach. Obviously, we're not playing that now, but I do like that some teams still do tag, just to not lose that traditional. I know we're young, but the traditionalist side of the game. But
Yeah,
Fletch?
I like it being back. Teams that have stacked midfields don't just run away with games, and I think you've got to control the midfield battle. I think we all know that's so important, whether it be pressure or the ball going inside your 50 and gain territory. So make the best players work, because I don't think the best players work anymore. Like Dusty kind of broke the tag mantra because you just go forward
yeah.
and take a mid forward, which they're not used to doing that. And so they stop tagging. Whereas I feel like your Olivers that don't roll forward, McRae's, I'm trying to think of people now, Neil's, they don't roll forward, they just sit in midfield all day. You can get them.
Yeah.
And I think they're gettable. Your Bontempellis, Christian Petrarcas, Dustin Martins, they kind of roll forward a bit harder of a matchup. But now that we're seeing like Blitzars, who's started his apprenticeship as a key defender, if you put him on someone that can do that, like that's Dustin Martin, he'll probably do just as well in the forward, like defending him
100%.
as a defender.
100%.
So I think that's so the tag I like being back on a genuine full-time midfielder, just making it work. Like we watched Brayshaw just run up and down the field, put a body in front of him, so every time he has to run around someone, which by the fourth quarter will show up.
clubs get crucified. Like when Neil had 39, Richmond got crucified for not tagging. Now, clubs get crucified when a player has 40 and they don't try and do anything about it.
Yeah.
But-
As well, I really like the fact that it's not just star midfielders. Like it's your Jack Sinclairs and Nick Dacos's, your half-backs getting tagged.
Yeah.
I really like that too. It just adds another
I
element
feel
to
like
it.
the game.
Stephen May gets, I wouldn't call it a tag, but Stephen May
Looked
has
at.
that attention often.
Yeah.
They used to, like, a couple of years ago, just try and play one, like, your best against my best. Now it's like, all right, try and take a little bit away from them and then also play your best footy. So I think that's a good thing.
It's always intriguing to see that. Yeah, I think what you just said, that like it's easy to say I want to tag Neil, but how does that affect your team structures?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're saying, instead of being 4-on-4 instead of bounce, it's now 3-on-3. So how does that work?
And I think teams are so good now at on the fly, quickly switching players and figuring out, like you said, with if they're a mid forward, or like palm him off, and have someone allocated to if he does push forward, what are we going to do? And clubs like Geelong are lucky that they don't have to worry about that, but there's some clubs who do need to worry about that, and they're doing it, which is really cool. Now the next one is a club who's been in the news pretty much all year for good and then for bad.
I like the bad.
Yeah, good on you. They've had, like I said, they've been in the news, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Was Carlton's back half of the season, the fall from grace, is that concerning for their short-term future, Tommy?
I hate to say it, it's not. It's not concerning. Injuries played a pretty big factor for him. As I said, I want to be saying Carlton aren't going to make the 8, Carlton are going to be shit, but they're not, are they? They're just not going to be shit. No, I just think we were talking about it before we started recording. That when the midfield and defence obviously was pretty hindered this year, at different stages. So we saw half of the year they had midfield was fully functioning and strong, but they had no defenders, and then that literally flipped. That last few rounds they had no midfielders, but the defence was back. And to show they're not all that worried about defence, they delisted Oscar McDonald, a key defender. They look like dire straits for defenders after the year, but they still delisted one at the end of the year. So it shows they're not too worried about it. But no, I don't think it's a concern. I think I'm probably gonna put money into the flag. I just think that the way they choked from where they were 10-3 or 8-3. I think it was 8-3. They're going to be up there. They'll be, for me, they're a top 4 lock. But yeah,
Ooh, there he goes.
Damn.
Fletch.
Well, it is concerning to me, and it's pretty similar to the Melbourne point. They started 8-3. How they finished the season? They missed finals. So what they got? They got to 12 wins. So they started 8-3 and only got to 12 wins.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
it's
concerning.
It's a fair thing to be concerned about. Yeah.
It also, I understand injuries play a part. Every team has injuries and they couldn't get done. It's more concerning. I don't think they'll be top 4 next year. It's hard to explain. My concern is the hype around them for the first 8 weeks or 10 weeks isn't going to translate to next year, and they've got to find that again and keep going. They had the forward line of Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow.
Two of the probably the top 5. Would you say they're two of the top 5?
Well, one won the Coleman this year and one won the Coleman last year.
Yeah, they probably are top 5.
Definitely
they had
top 5.
Paddy Cripps, Sam Walsh, Chera, George Hewitt left them late.
Kennedy's underrated.
Missed all the year.
Yeah.
Kennedy, they had a lot of, and I'd say I think Sam Walsh missed one at the start of the year, one late, so he pretty much played the whole year. Chera wasn't as influential as what we thought he was going to be, and I don't think he will be as influential.
Ooh.
They've got...
Big call.
Well, it's pretty true. He's
No,
the same...
not this year, you're not wrong.
He's been the same draft year as Brayshaw.
Yeah,
Don't you
this
think
year
though,
you're
because it's not his role to get 30 touches a game.
I'm not worried about 30 touches a game.
It's his role to be, and I know it's all hard, but he's playing behind Walsh, Cripps,
wrong.
Hewitt. So it's he's probably playing a role that we don't know about. Maybe it is to sit back, be a bit more defensive.
So would you
we don't
say
know.
the players just list their pressure players?
Probably not. No.
So
Cripps maybe a little bit more.
What are we
so.
looking at? Collingwood? What's their 1 wood and why are they in top 4?
Yeah, pressure.
Geelong?
Just good at everything. Yeah.
Embracing the pressure and playing fast footy. So
Sorry, where you going with that? I just
Sydney pressure.
Yeah.
Brisbane second half against Melbourne pressure. He's got to be a pressure player, and I just don't think he's got the willingness or attitude to do that.
Do you think that?
He needs to do that in that side.
Do you think a year under a new coach, surely they're going to get better after a year? And I know obviously what Craig McRae's done is a bit of an outlier. The first year being this good, I just think 1 year in the
They've got
system.
weaknesses, and they have to improve them.
Yeah, of course.
And that's
then maybe C8 they have to
the second half this year concerns me for next year if they don't improve them. The ruck needs to be improved. The centre half back, the key position backs have to improve, and the small half forward flankers need to play a consistent season. We could see in the second half of the season or the late they played really nicely, and it changed the dynamic of the team. At the start of the season, they played really nicely, and they're obviously 8-3. They do have concerns of consistency and properly being a whole season.
Rod, what do you reckon?
I agree with Fletch. I think it is concerning. The big thing for me was in every scenario where the game was on the line and there's 5 minutes left, scores are tied, there is no way you're saying Carlton's going to win this.
Yeah.
Because you just think, oh, they're going to stuff something up, they're going to make an error, like they did in basically all of those games.
The structure goes to water or they do
Yeah.
something stupid. You're
Like,
right, they choked a lot of games.
You can coach all you want. Vossi can have the best structure in the league, but if these players under pressure forget that and just go to water, what's the point?
Yep.
And I reckon the weight of expectation hurt them a lot too. I reckon some of those guys who
Yeah.
played like they had nothing to lose in the first 10 weeks
Yeah.
and then started to fall away, I think that was pretty concerning as well. And they're probably not as young as there's all this stigma that they're super young. I don't think they are that young.
No, they're not.
No, and the other reason why I say concerning next year, it's more like the future.
Yeah.
They got to pay some players next year, and they've already
gonna
paid some
say that
players.
as well.
That'll stuff
But
them up.
that's a bit of a different conversation to
Yeah.
what this question's asking. But they've got to pay some players.
They're naturally going to lose players because there's a queue of players waiting to get paid.
Well, this year might be their year.
They're going to have to make some choices eventually, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that's an interesting one. Obviously, you want Carlton to do well. I think
You do not.
a good Carlton and a good Collingwood is a good
Okay,
competition.
I understand that.
There you go. Happy? All right. So last one here, another really good one. Well picked, Fletch. Another team who had a very newsworthy season for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. The GWS Giants. Fletcher, are the Giants doomed?
Folding as a club.
Oh, well, they'll never fold because they're AFL club, but I am worried for them for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
True, they are doomed. It's a bit of a
Are
harsh
you,
word.
are you predicting they'll disband and fold for
Are
the
you
next
saying
10
they're going to
years?
come last next year?
Yeah. All true. Nah, I am generally worried. Trying to retain a player in Greater Western Sydney is not working whatsoever. We've already seen 3 players want to get traded this year: Jeremy Cameron, Adam Treloar. I think the list goes on and on and on and on.
Taylor Adams.
So I'm definitely worried for them. They can't. The AFL handed them a lot of first round draft picks, and they just can't keep handing them first round draft picks. They've got to either become a players that can land a free agent or retain first round draft picks that they finally develop. I don't know. It's pretty concerning, to be honest with you.
Thomas?
Yeah, they're seriously. I am worried. They've paid. I know we'll talk a bit more about the contract stuff when the season's finished, but they've paid their top end talent too much, and it's meaning that they can't afford to pay players like Taranto and Hopper, who we spoke about before. And they've been gifted, obviously, new club. They had to be. They were gifted a lot of first round picks, and they're starting to lose them for probably unders. They're not going to keep, as you said, they're not going to keep getting 5, 6 first round picks. So it is concerning for sure. I do think, and I think the contracts play a big factor in that. And you're right, they're not a destination club at the moment. They probably were a couple of years
Mate,
ago.
no one
Were
lives
they,
in
were they
freaking
even a
Greater
couple of
Western
years?
Sydney.
Do you
I don't
reckon?
think they were.
But
They
they'll
never have been.
probably you'd say they have to be more attractive when you're playing when you making
were
a grand
attractive.
final, Jeremy Cameron and stuff. They'll probably, I wouldn't say destination club. I'd
They
say
were
they're
attractive
more
to
attractive
stay.
though.
To stay.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you were there
Oh,
already,
yeah.
they were attracted to
'Cause
be there.
everyone probably knew when all of the guys they drafted first up start to fall away, where do they go? And
Yeah.
every player externally from other clubs would have been thinking the exact same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go here for the long term.
No.
That's true.
And saying, yeah, but anyway, I agree. I think they are doomed. I was looking at their list today, and like the young players around that 23, 24 and under. In their defense, it's fine. Like it's Cumming and Taylor. That's pretty good. Midfield, it's pretty much just Tom Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Who got pretty much? Would you say I wouldn't say pushed out, but he rolled.
It changed.
He went
Yeah.
down. He went down in the back
Yeah.
after.
And
the
obviously
year.
with no Taranto, no Hopper, that means that they've just got these 4 or 5 guys who will be in there every week and they can have some stability. But I still think Like now you don't have any. There's not one person in that kind of 18 to 22, 23 age bracket as a midfielder you're thinking they could be like the next leader of the club or whatever. They don't have that. And they're not going to get it from somewhere else because who wants to go there?
They have to draft it. And like it's a 4-year process to get someone at AFL level every week. Like to play 23 rounds of good footy.
That's really concerning.
So
I'm worried about him. I don't know where the improvement comes from. Callum Ward's going to retire probably the end of next season. That's their midfield bull gone. You look, Cogs, Kelly, they're not... I don't want to call them weak, but they're not
natural contestant ball players.
Yeah, they're not tough nuts.
No,
especially
right.
Kelly.
Yeah,
Wants to
Kelly's
hang
right.
around the outside.
Yeah.
Cogs, great year. Awesome. Happy for him. But Ward's just that guy who just goes in and gets it.
Yeah, hard as a cat's
At
head.
Ward's age and like what the career's had, he shouldn't be racking up 20 touches every week like he is.
Yeah,
He should be playing off half forward line or half back line, but he's not.
So, yeah, like their spine is Cogs, Kelly, Toby Green, and Harry Himmelberg. And Sam Taylor. It's kind of it.
It's good, but like Dylan Buckley, he says he lived in Sydney and then drove like an hour and a half to train. So it's like they're not even living in like Western Sydney.
So far removed from everything,
Because
no
Sydney
feel.
is where all the action is. I understand like every Footscray player doesn't live in Footscray, but it's like that's because Melbourne's different. There's 9 clubs in Melbourne. Yeah. But it's like you can't even live where you play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, get a bit of like drive a bit of culture, try and be a little bit close and all that. But yeah, not good. Not good. I think most people would probably agree on that it's looking pretty grim for the Giants. But if you guys had nothing else to add to that, I think
It's a very good segment, Riley.
that's a true or false for another week.
All right, prelim final week. This is where your bread is made. This is where
Bread and your butter.
This is where the big dogs get up,
A good combo.
and you got to make the grand final here. So the fans round. So we got Geelong versus Brisbane at the G Friday night, 7:50. Very good time slot. Last time they played was round 4, so long time ago. Completely different sides. It was also at GMHBA Stadium, so doesn't really count as a game because Geelong just win those.
Oh, give us a bit of credit, would you?
Doesn't count as
I mean, you get 8 wins a year because you already get.
I don't like that narrative.
I like this
If
one.
we weren't
Good boy.
because
Anyway,
of
the Cats
team-
won.
No,
Cats
it's 'cause the team
defeated
we
the
are. We're a good
Lions by
team.
10
If
points.
we were a bad team, would you be saying that? No, it's because we're
The
a good
Geelong
team.
Centre continues to
We're a
Fletcher very well. I like
consistent
it.
So the Cats beat the Lions by 10 points.
Can I swear?
Um,
No.
Settle down, mate. I'm just trying to run this subject there. Okay? So just calm down. Got 8 wins a year and pencil them in before the season
We're a
starts.
good footy club.
So the
You
key
don't say,
matchups,
GWS gets 7 easy wins at Spotless Stadium.
Tommy,
do
the
ya?
key matchups that you're wanting to see,
Me
you think is going to
first.
happen. Give us your predictions. Key matchups.
Oh, gee, I forgot what I was saying after that. I came out of nowhere, that slander. I usually say that for the end of the show. You didn't come back to me. I don't even know yet.
All right.
You
then
come back. Honestly,
Riley,
that's thrown me.
Riley.
Sorry.
I thought let Riley off the leash.
Just don't talk about what you've been talking
Yeah,
about
off the
before.
leash,
Just go
dog.
with your matchups, okay?
Okay. The Brisbane defence.
He's so angry.
Sorry, I'm trying to focus.
Yeah. Okay, serious.
So, in particular, Daniel Rich, Kaneen Coleman, Starcevic and Ainsworth, those types of players. In that first half on the weekend against Melbourne, your Melbourne Smalls, so Neil Bullen, Spargo, Pickett, looked so dangerous. Because your Rich and Coleman's, they want to push forward and they want to be a part of their attack, which is fair enough. It's part of the game plan. But if they do that against Geelong and get caught the other way, you got some boys named Tyson Stengel, Brian Myers, Brad Close, who are going to sneak out the back, outnumber, and kick some goals. So I think Brisbane had the confidence to squeeze Melbourne at the stoppage and be able to kind of catch Melbourne out the back. But I don't know. I think if the Brisbane defence isn't super rock solid for all 4 quarters, I don't know how they can stop Geelong from kicking a winning score.
That
And it might sound obvious, but like it's just saying the Brisbane defence, but I'm talking more specifically, like Daniel Rich and Kaneen Coleman.
yeah. So that
Exposed.
is really important that they defend first and then be attacking players afterwards, because I think they get caught up being attacking players first and then get caught at the back, and they can't do that against Geelong.
Which you can get away with one, but when you've got 2 of those attack first
I don't
half
think
backs.
even Geelong, you can't get away with it. Geelong.
But even, yeah, you're right. But like, you can probably hide one on one of them.
Yeah. Maybe.
but not 2. Not a chance.
I think weaknesses get exposed in the prelim. So,
Oh, yeah.
Tommy, your matchups?
Well, I had my first one was going to be who plays on the second toll. So I'm assuming Hawkins goes to Andrews goes to Hawkins. So my first one was going to be who takes Cameron and how many does he kick. You said I think he was $4.50 to kick the most goals in finals. We'll be getting on that the second this podcast ends. But I was going to say, hang on, I had this and literally forgotten about it.
Let's talk about something.
Yeah, hang on. I literally had it and I forgot about it.
So
yes,
for those who
I
didn't know,
remembered.
Fletcher and I are really good at skiing now. Continue.
I remembered. I can't believe I went blank. Just Joe Danaher. He probably comes back in, but did it make him better him not playing?
No, I said it week 1. I said it.
You did call this.
Week 1 of the finals. McInerney down. 1 less tall in the forward line. Ball stays in there a lot better. Charlie Cameron has a lot more space to show his speed and dominance. That was my X factor. Not picking another tall.
That was a good call from you again. That's
All
why you should
good
tune
calls.
in,
Well
Chance.
done.
That was my X factor.
Put
for
us
this
on
week,
the
though.
couch.
Like
Just
seriously,
Fletch,
like
not
why pick the tall? It's not working.
The fact his name's Joe Danaher is a marquee. But I think if this is a McStay that was injured, he probably doesn't come back.
But imagine that if they say they don't pick Danaher and it works. Imagine that is a masterclass. Absolute masterclass. If it works, I can see that working.
Oh,
That's,
100%.
the way to beat Geelong.
But this is the thing. Chris Fagan's gonna make a tough call. He's gonna make the right call for the team and not the right call for the club. Like in terms of you've paid him the most money, you got to get him on the field. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's Joe Danaher playing, and maybe it's not. It's Eric Hipwood or McStay not playing.
Yeah.
But
we talked about it before.
They're going to play the tools. They're going to play the tools, but it's not going to work.
The fact
It's not
is
gonna
Joe
work.
Danaher. You can't not pick Joe Danaher.
But you could not pick McStay or
If
Eric
it's
Hipwood.
McStay, Hipwood less. But yeah, if McStay went outside and they played better, he wouldn't get picked.
Yeah, you're not dropping Hipwood anymore. It would be McStay for sure.
Yeah, but interested to see. So do you think that extra tool helps or hinders Rod? Hinders Cats, Rod.
If they,
He helps. Let's say helps the Cats or hinders the Cats.
I think Geelong's happy for them to play tools. We'll
Yeah.
back in all the tools we have. That means there's going to be more high balls,
Yeah.
less chaos balls going inside 50. And Sam DeConing, Jack Henry, those guys are just going to say, Tom Stewart, they're just going to sit in the hole and say, thank you very much. I'll
And
take
how many
that.
times do they actually mark the ball in a contested pack situation? And if they don't, then the ball's going to be walked down the other end.
And we talked about last week. Those 3 tools are 3 tools that you wouldn't say are like your big
they're not pressure
pattern
forward.
crushes
Nope.
that are going to take in. You hear a lot about big contested marks are so big in big finals.
And Jack
They're
Revolt
desperate to do
chases,
that.
Tom Lynch chases. These guys don't chase.
Yeah,
They
Geelong would,
Geelong won't be
Geelong would be
scared.
happy either way, but I think having the extra tall it just fits better for Geelong. Just thinking, we'll intercept mark. We know where you're going to kick it now because you got 3 talls, and we'll just stop it at the source. So
Yep.
So my key matchup is Neil has to be tagged. Just stop it at the source.
who though?
Mark Blitzars.
I'm not sure. Is he quick enough though?
But if you're standing on him all the whole time, he doesn't
Because
need
he
to be quick enough.
tags. I thought he runs with those bigger players.
trust
Like,
me,
yeah, you
Blitzars is quick enough.
Do you reckon, I know he's
He's got the
an,
tank
an
to do it.
elite runner, but do you reckon he's quick enough to like Neil's a little bit smaller than your taller ones he's been tagging? You
I
reckon
think
he's-
so.
That's all right. Just push him off the
Blitzars-
ball. Just push him off the ball. Be
Yeah,
all the time on him.
That's-
Don't let him get 2 steps.
Yeah,
Two quick
Blitzars
steps.
he doesn't get enough credit for the way he uses his body at the stoppage, the way he's able to, because he's so strong.
And it'll be easier against Neil.
Yeah, so I think
That's true.
I don't think it'll be like a heavy tag. I think
Oh,
he'll keep an eye on him at
I
every single
would like to be a
stoppage.
heavy tag. Just
Yeah.
stop it at the source. Let's be honest here. The only reason they won the Richmond game, Neil. He was very good in the second half. For Brisbane, don't let him get a run on. Don't let them get a sniff or a thought of, let's jump on Neil's back here.
Yeah.
That's just
I think it'll be what you said, more of a stoppage sort of thing.
And I think, like, I totally agree with you. I think it'll just be centre clearances. It's hard, because we saw that Richmond game. It was 7 centre clearances. They kicked 4 goals from it or whatever. But yeah, I think at centre clearances, it'll be watch for him.
Yeah.
He's probably the only one who can burst out and
Mm-hmm.
really damage us going that way. And then around the ground, blitz halves will back himself to win his own ball and be able to keep an eye on Neil as well. So,
Yep.
But I like it.
So what is your prediction for the game? Who's winning? How much?
Geelong, we're winning. I think we'll win by about 4 goals. I'd say 4 or 5 goals.
24 points ish.
Yeah, about 25 to 30 points. I'd
High
say.
scoring, low scoring.
I'm gonna say about 95 to 65.
So it's actually 30 points there.
I said 25 to 30.
Tommy, what's your predictions?
Now, before I looked at the weather forecast, I was going to say Cats by like 50 plus. Like I was going to say blow out.
Yep.
But the rain, it says it might rain, which would obviously make it hard for me by 50 points. I still think Cats win very comfortably.
Yay.
For the tipping, I'll be tipping very high number.
You need the margin.
Because the margin is important. I need it. We're level. I don't want to hear talk about my tipping, but there's a 4-way tie at the top, and I'm behind on margin. So I need to make up that extra tip on margin. So I was going to go big with the margin. I was going to say 50 plus. But if it's raining, it'll be like 5 goals. But no rain, literally close to 10 goals.
Like it. I think Cats win. Yeah, Cats win. If the lines that turned up in the second half turn up, then it's probably only going to be 20 points. But I reckon it's going to be 30 plus. I think
big win.
Riley just fist pumped.
If Geelong don't win,
He's back. He's back on the bandwagon.
I'm still on Sydney's.
Go Swam.
In the second game, we have Sydney versus Collingwood, 4:45, which is an unusual time
Very
slot.
interesting, yeah.
On a Saturday over at the SCG, smaller ground than the MCG, so that should be all right for both sides, I reckon. Last time they played was very late in the year, so not too long ago.
Round 22 or 21?
Round 22 at the SCG again. The Swans defeated the Pies by 27 points. It was a very good game. I think just the last quarter the Swans got you, or was it?
No, it was more they were comfortable. It was about that 20 margin most of the day.
Yep. So Riley, what are some key matchups you got for this match?
I've got a feeling I know the one that Tommy's going to say, so I'm going to say a different one. I actually found this pretty tricky. I didn't see much of the last time they played, but just based off the stats, I think the Collingwood small forwards are going to have a big job. In that round 22 game, they only kicked 7 goals. One of them was a junk time from Nick Dacosing in the last minute or so.
Literally was in the last 30
so they've
seconds.
kicked 6 goals in the game, and 4 of them were from Myercheck, Johnson, Cox, and Cameron. So you're talking about, Elliott didn't kick a goal, Hoskin Elliott didn't kick a goal, Carmichael won't be playing, but he didn't kick a goal, and McCreary didn't kick a goal. So they had no impact at all. And they're those guys that they're going to need to be able to win the territory battle, to lock it in there. And it's not just kicking goals, but it's in that game, they had an average of 8 disposals each. So they just didn't get near it. Sydney just didn't let them get near it. Their defence was so good, and we saw it firsthand against Melbourne, of just getting it out quickly before it can become a stoppage game and tackles inside 50. So I think if those types of guys can, as well as being scoring threats, they can be really good defensively, tackles inside 50, get some free kicks. I think that's going to be huge, and they're going to need it if they want to get close, I think.
Do you have a cheeky X factor for this game?
A cheeky X factor, I would say, I'd go with Bo McCreary.
Oh.
Okay. Left field.
He's had a couple of really nice moments. I think he might be someone that gets forgotten about a bit. He gets put on the back burner in terms of analysis from other teams, I think, when you're looking at your Ginnivan's and Jamie Elliott's. So
he leads the pressure, our forward line. He's the main guy with pressure.
Yeah, the guy doesn't get probably the credit he deserves. He's been a really important player this year. So I'd say he's a good X factor, just to watch out for him, I'd say.
I like it. Tommy, you got some matchups for us?
Jordan De Goey would have been the easiest one to say, but we talked about him a lot, so I'm not going to talk about him. Whoever plays on Tom Papley, for me, is the most important matchup. So I think it'll be Brad Maynard, but it could be Isaac Quainer, could be Nathan Murphy, but I'm going to base it on Brad Maynard. We saw in the Melbourne game, Melbourne-Sydney, that D's were probably on top early. Maybe it was a bit of an arm wrestle, but they were probably the better side. And Swans were looking for a bit of a spark, and that came from Tom Papley. He did a couple of really nice things. I can't remember whether it was goals or goal assists, but he did a couple of really, really nice things to really get them going, and then they didn't look back from there. So for me, it's whoever plays on Tom Papley. If Collingwood managed to, make it a genuine arm wrestle or maybe a little bit on top early, Swans will look to Tom Papley. And I think if Collingwood can nullify him, whether it be in the midfield or in the forward line, I think they'll go a long way towards Pies, hopefully causing an upset. So Maynard has gone into midfield a little bit at time. That's why I think he's probably the best matchup that he could almost follow him. I'm not sure whether that's logistically would work, but he can play midfield if Papley goes to midfield. But yeah, for me, it'll be whoever playing on top. Tom Papley.
What's your X factor for this game? Who's going to crack the game open?
I think Jack Crisp.
Yeah.
We saw that return to form. He started playing that role that we saw in the first half. He picked him up in Supercoach. The second half, he went to shit. But his role has changed. It was weird. But we saw what he was doing to the midfield and that those real direct, almost kamikaze style that you were talking about before. I think they'll be crucial to try and break open this really good Swans defense. I think Collingwood have to play. I know we pride ourselves in that chaos ball, but for me, it's Jack Crisp is probably the one.
Yep, I like that. My key matchup, I don't have a one-on-one matchup or anything like that. I think it's system against system. These two teams, Collingwood is very much about the system. They haven't really got an absolute star. I know John Go's been playing very well, but they're really system-based. And I think last time I watched it, their last game, round 22, Sydney owned the 5 metres around the ball. They didn't let a forward handball just roll on. They always grabbed the forward handball cleanly and sweeped that across with their halfbacks back into the corridor and then got quick inside 50s. So I think that is a key matchup for the Pies, not letting Sydney own the next 5 metres post-ball, if that makes sense. I know that's a bit hard to explain, but that's really important for the Pies to get their forward game going and the chaos. Otherwise, Sydney were just sweeping off half-back, getting it back into the corridor and quickly sending it into the forward line.
And that's what Sydney did last time. They just didn't they didn't give Collingwood a sniff at all of being able to play the way they wanted to. They just, like you said before, stopped them at the source and just said, we're going to play the way we want to play. And mind you, Collingwood clearly didn't play the ground well at all, and Pendlebury's spoken about that. But yeah, I think Sydney just, they game planned so well.
Collingwood never really looked
so
like
well.
We never looked like winning that game.
Nah.
We never did, to be honest.
Like every time you tried to get that chaos ball happening, I feel like they had a clean possession and got it going in their direction. So I think that's really important that you can't allow that to happen. Otherwise, you won't be near it. But my X Factor matchup is a bit different.
Ooh.
But Isaac Heaney is the one, I think, that he's got to play on the Jeremy Cameron. I obviously mentioned this last week. But he's got to play on probably Jeremy Cameron. And he's got to fly. Jeremy Howe.
Yeah.
He's got to play on Jeremy Howe, but he can't battle him in the air. He's got to battle him on the ground because Howe's best attribute is his flying ability. Mm-hmm. So he can't let him get a leap and jump because I don't think Isaac Heaney can go with him. So he's got to work him under the ball and try and get him in one-on-ones on the ground instead of in the air, which obviously we were just talking about him having 13 intercept disposals. It's pretty crucial because then Moore has a bigger role. He's then really, and then Murphy's also got a bigger role in terms of actually marking the ball instead of just punching the ball. So
yeah, true. That's true, actually. Yeah.
I think that's quite a key matchup. But yeah, I reckon it's system against system this game. So
your tip for this one, Fletch?
Sydney. Yeah, I've got to go Sydney. I've picked him for the grand final.
Yeah, I was going to say. I've been putting the flag. He's jumped off.
Sydney. I don't like the 2 weeks off though. Sorry, the bye, then play a game, then the bye, then play a game. Same as Geelong. Whereas I feel like Collingwood's riding a bit of a wave now. But they obviously don't have the home ground advantage, so they have 90,000 fans like they did on the week. But Sydney, 10 points.
Oh, close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close as.
Okay.
What about you?
Go on.
My heart's saying the Pies. I brought my Collingwood jumper in today, obviously, to in response to you wearing the catch jumper last week.
Jeez, seems like I'm in your head rent free. The amount of times you've mentioned it.
Sydney. I think it'll be a similar scoreline to.
He's honest. I love the honesty.
I'm just a bit.
Jeez.
Look, obviously, I'm crossing my fingers and toes that this time next week we're Pies v Cats. But I just think Sydney's a bit. I just think they're a bit too solid. Pies. It's been a successful season nonetheless. If we lose this, I just want to win a final. I just didn't want the memes that we got in straight sets. I know that they'd come thick and fast. Looking at Emily Angus. But no, I just think the Swans would be a little too. I think it'd be Swans by 4 goals.
If I can ask,
4 goals.
if you were to justify a reason why Collingwood can win, what would it be?
Pressure.
You just look at all year. We defied the odds all year. Just look at the game. You look at the stats, and you look at how many close games. Why would you rule us out now? Why would you not believe? Like, we've done it all year. So I think the storyline matches up well with winning. So I don't think if Collingwood win, it'd be the perfect storyline for the AFL, and obviously how big a fan base Collingwood are. I just think Sydney is a bit too solid, and the fact that Buddy did. I'm not sure. Did Buddy do much in that round 22 game? It wasn't that. Was it?
He kicked a couple, yeah.
But sorry, I was. Had my head was the game against Melbourne. He did nothing, and they won. Yeah. So he did nothing. They still won. That concerns me. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I do really hope I'm wrong, but I think the Swans win.
No, fair enough. I was just curious. Just want to hear more optimistic Tommy as the Collingwood fan.
I'll believe, but I'm a bit like I went to the Cats game with I wouldn't say no belief, but I went there with little expectation, and it's the hope that kills you. But I just think the Swans win. To be honest.
Fair enough. Me too. I think Sydney by about. Yeah, I know it's cliche to say, but probably about 20, 25 points. I think they're probably still don't get enough credit for how well they've actually played in the second half of the year. And like all the talk's been about Collingwood and Geelong and all that, but they are flying. I don't have as many concerns as you about the couple of weeks off. I still think they'll be okay, that SCG crowd. So I think pretty comfortable, probably 20, 25 points. So,
well, that's our prelim final review done. That's the whole podcast done.
Yeah, we're done now.
So pretty unusual. We're all unanimous on who's going to win the game. So we all think it's a Sydney Geelong grand final.
Yes, I think whoever wins the Collingwood Sydney game, I'll be barracking for next week.
Don't want to disport you, mate.
No.
What are your thoughts?
No, I want Riley O'Donnell to be happy, but there are other O'Donnells that I don't want them.
Who?
I don't want to be happy. Sounds really mean, doesn't it?
Wow.
That sounds really mean. Okay, I mentioned last week about
Brody's message.
This is the
second time you've backtracked.
I know, and last week the O'Donnell's in my head rent free, like legit. Look, the Cats have won enough. Give it to Sydney or Collingwood.
Oh my god.
So no,
Collingwood. What?
Collingwood haven't won
You've won
enough?
2000.
Yeah, look, can we end the podcast now? Cut it now.
Did you not win in 2018?
Shut up.
Dumb shit.
That was a good game. I watched that the other week.
A grown man cried that day.
Good even contest.
I cried.
Andrew Sharples. What?
I was meant to go back to the Sharples, but I was in tears. I was not showing my face in public.
Well, Tommy has now backtracked twice in the podcast. So this has been a good episode. He's been embarrassed now. But
We'll end it there.
Cut it now, please.
See you guys. Bye.
Everyone. See you.